The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, is expected to extend the government's £2.5 grand energy price guarantee for another 3 months.
Yes, this means household bills will be capped at £2,500, protecting households from a 20% hike in bills.
Now, already the wholesale energy market is betting prices will fall to more affordable levels over the summer. And in fact, the price cap, the new price cap, which comes in April, not that we have to pay it because of the government's plan, but that's come down by £1,000 or so.
OK, well, former Chief Executive for Energy UK, Angela Knight, joins us now. Good morning to you, Angela, and thank you so much for your company this morning. So bring us up to speed then. What does this mean for you and me? This energy price cap is meant to limit increases in people's energy bills, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's actually quite a sort of confused picture at the moment. You know, we've got a cap here and a subsidy there and all the rest of it. So as I understand it, the likelihood is, and we don't know that yet, but the likelihood is that the current arrangement, which is a subsidy to all of us, will stay. So the average that, however that calculation is done, the average amount that you'll pay for your energy is not going to increase above the current £2,500 a year. It was due to go up to about £3,000, and that is the piece that everybody's been arguing in, and we'll have to wait and see what the Chancellor says in a few days' time. But perhaps the most important thing is just to look ahead. Because if one looks at all the estimates of what is going to happen, not just over this next few weeks or few months, but over the year between now and next year, the likelihood is that the wholesale prices are going to be below the 2,500. That is below what we're currently capped out at. And that, I think, is good news for us all. So irrespective of what the Chancellor says when he stands up for his budget, the reality is that we're not going to be paying 3,000. We might not even be paying 2,500, because a lot of those great big shocks that happened that resulted in the increases in the gas and electricity that we're paying, and which were all around Russia turning off its supplies to Europe, and Europe saying, you know, this is we're going to be on the side of the Ukraine in the Russia-Ukraine war. All those shocks are now moving away out of the system, and not just us here in the UK and in Europe, but the world is getting used to a different sort of energy supply and getting their gas from different places. So as I say, looking ahead, it's not just a question of going up, it's a question of those prices coming down. But one last point, if I may say, and that is this, is that we were at sort of £1,100, £1,200 before we have the war. Where we're going to settle out is more like, you know, £2,100, £2,200. So all of us have got to get used to paying more for our gas and electricity and being better on insulation and better on saving.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it would be ludicrous, wouldn't it, if the price cap actually did go up? I mean, bear in mind that the government, although it doesn't affect our pockets directly because of the government's price cap, the fact that the Ofgem cap has come down by £1,000 or so, it means the government can afford to keep this going for a bit longer and still have more money in the bank.
Well, what means the government can afford to make this go a bit longer is the difference between the wholesale price and what we're paying, because that's where their subsidy goes. And perhaps it's just worth explaining that it goes to the suppliers, and the suppliers are the people that we buy our gas and electricity off, and they're the ones that haven't been making any money during this process either. In fact, we've had 30 go bust as a consequence. But you are right to say that actually the overall cost of subsidising energy by the government, or we should say by the taxpayer, because that's the route the money goes, is much less than was estimated at the start, which is actually a very good thing. Right now, though, we've also got a whole load of other things that we want that money to be spent on, whether it's on increasing the pay to the nurses, whether it's on assisting industry and employment, whether it's going on social security and the elderly and the disabled. There's a whole range of things on which the money needs to be spent. And so somehow we've got to get ourselves back into a situation where we don't have to be subsidised for our gas and electricity. As I say, that'll mean that we'll all have to pay a bit more, but at the same time, we need to as well have a much better energy security in this country, so we're not affected quite so badly in the future. What will inevitably be something ahead which again causes some of these prices to spike.
I mean, we've been hearing about wholesale gas prices falling for several weeks. They started to fall months ago now, but we're only just hearing about this energy price cap guarantee that hasn't even been confirmed yet. But there is that saying, isn't it, that prices go up like a rocket and down like a feather, and it does seem like it takes a long time to be passed on to the consumer. When does it look as though it is going to start to be more affordable for people? Are we looking at the summer?
Yes, I think we are. In fact, we might actually be looking at a situation before we properly hit the summer where those wholesale prices have come down. But let me answer your question as to why things seem to go up quickly and down slowly. Actually, although we went up quite quickly, we never went up in our gas and electricity prices to the heights that the actual global market went up to, because our sensible suppliers, those who were running their businesses properly, were buying ahead anyway. And they buy contracts, not just for tomorrow, but they buy them for months, and in some respects, in some instances, even longer ahead, years. So what that means is that the prices are held lower than they would otherwise have been, but at the same time, they take longer to come down. The thing is we always feel a price rise, very personally, because it immediately hits our pocket. Those contracts, they roll on and roll off over periods of time. And that's why, to a certain extent, everything is smoothed, both on the way up and also on the way down.
OK, Angela, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. I mean, it's positive news.
Yes. It
is positive news, and so by the time that £2,500 price cap now comes to an end, if it's extended for 3 months beyond April, which I'd be amazed if it wasn't, frankly, because the government has got money in the bank as a result of the energy prices coming down.